Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome to the October 18th, 2016 Jackson Public School District's Board of Trustees meeting. Looks we have a full house this evening. Thank everyone for participating in our meeting. Our Pledge of Allegiance will this evening come from our elementary division, and Dr. Merritt will introduce our student.
Great evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Gray, Ms. Bird, members of the board, I'm honored to introduce Stephen Valdivia, who is a fifth grade student at Baker Elementary School. He is the son of Miss Evelyn Espinosa and Mr. Andres Magnana. Stephen is a member of the Voice of Baker Bulldogs Choir. Stephen reads and speaks English and Spanish fluently. He enjoys being responsible at home by feeding his dogs, cleaning his room, and taking out the trash. His favorite subject is science, and when Stephen grows up, he has a desire to become a commander with the Jackson Police Department or work for the CIA. I present to you at this time Mr. Stephen Valdivia.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in English and in Spanish. I pledge allegiance to the flag and the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yo prometo lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y la República bajo Dios en tierra que
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. Start over, Stephen, if you want to.
Yo prometo lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y la República bajo Dios en tierra con
Good job. Good job. Stephen, thank you so much. So don't go away, Stephen. Stand up. Come back. Thank you so much, Stephen. You know, probably 90% of us in here didn't know what you were saying anyway. So you're fine. But I did hear some of your fellow students in the back reciting the pledge with you. So thank you so much for doing that. Our colleague, Mr. Jones, will present you with a token of our appreciation for your being here.
You know, this is what it's about. This young man did a beautiful job, and we really appreciate your long-term goal of being a law enforcement person that's going to take care of all of us. It's also, too, show that your steadfastness in sitting here and then learning and growing at the same time. That's what this life is about. So on behalf of our board president, Ms. Burke, superintendent, and the staff, faculty, we want to thank you tonight for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we look forward to having you back with us again. Thank you so much.
One.
Do we have any, Stephen, are you accompanied by your parent, or do we have any other Baker Elementaries? Okay. Can you please, and the principal, please stand. Let's give her some love. And teachers, do we have any teachers from Baker Elementary? Well, hey, stand up. Let's hear you. Thank you all for the work that you do as well. We will now have a moment of inspiration for our meeting. Ms. Kimberly Campbell will introduce Reverend Baron Banks.
Good evening to Dr. Gray, Mrs. Burt, and all of the board members. The moment of inspiration tonight will be given by Reverend Baron Banks. Reverend Baron Banks, a native Mississippian, is employed at Jackson State University as an adjunct professor of philosophy and religion. He is former chaplain of the JSU National Alumni Association, and he is a member of the JSU Jackson Hines Alumni Chapter. Reverend Banks has worked for numerous causes, including race relations, crime prevention, and racial profiling. He does volunteer work for the JPS School District, where he has served on the site council for Forest Hill High School. He is the recipient of numerous awards and accolades and is associate pastor of the Pine View Presbyterian Church in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He is married to the lovely Mrs. Patricia Banks, a retired teacher from Key Elementary. Together they have 3 sons and 4 grandchildren. May I present to you Reverend Baron Banks.
A moment of inspiration. I'm inspired at myself when I can come out of retirement and go back into full-time work at my age, because I have compassion. I love, when you love what you do, you inspire teachers. It's fun. I hear people saying, I have a life. I need a life. That's my life. I love dealing with students. So I'm inspired when this young man can come up and greet us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm inspired when a leader like Dr. Gray and the school board and all of you who serve our school. So just look around for a moment and look at each other and just look at what we have here. Just take a moment to be inspired. Take a moment. Don't be afraid to look around. Just look around. Different complexion, different age. And so this is the day to be inspired, because we're going to make the best better here at JPS. And that's why, again, I'm inspired to be here. And we're inspired to do the best, and not only make Jackson Public Schools the best, but to make the state of Mississippi and this world will see us, because we have been inspired. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend Banks. If you'll stay for a second, Reverend Banks, Mr. Jones would like to also present you with a token of our appreciation.
Test.
We want to thank you for those encouraging words, enabling us to reflect and understand that we are motivated every time we have an opportunity to step into this capacity. Thank you so much. Do you have anyone here with you other than yourself?
Everybody is here.
Okay. Sound good? Sound good? Sound good? Sound good? Sound good? Absolutely. Well, on behalf, we present you with this certificate of appreciation, as well as another bag, a little bit dry for the umbrella, but rain is coming.
Thank you very
And
much.
so, thank you so much. Okay. Appreciate you. We're going to get a picture here.
One.
Wonderful. Reverend Banks, are you accompanied by anyone this evening? Are you accompanied by anyone today? No? Anyone with you today? You're welcome. Thank you very much. We appreciate your being here.
All right. All right.
So we will move on with the agenda. We have a quorum of members present. We are now down to adoption of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and second that we adopt today's agenda. Questions? Those in favor? Thank you. Reading and approving of our minutes of the October 4th, 2016 regular meeting.
Madam President, Board of Trustees for your consideration October 4th regular meeting minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. Members have been provided an earlier copy of these minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve October 4th, 2016 regular meeting. Questions? Those in favor? Thank you. We're now down to public participation. We have no one who signed up for public participation. Thank you. We're now down to the superintendent's report. Dr. Gray.
Madam President, Board of Trustees, good evening to all who've gathered here today. The vision of Jackson Public Schools is to have high-performing schools that serve high-performing scholars in clean and safe environments. The wildly important goals of JPS are increase academic achievement, increase average daily attendance for scholars and staff, and attract and retain high-quality staff. Our mission, we are building stronger schools together so that every scholar every day is ready for life. FAFSA days planned for JPS high school seniors. Attention, parents of seniors. Your child could qualify for free money for college tuition. FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and it's the first step in getting money to help pay for college. Get to College and university representatives are coming out to our high schools to help scholars and parents file for the FAFSA. Ask your child's counselor how to sign up for a free appointment, or visit your child's school website for more information. JPS Fall Job Fair. Jackson Public Schools is hosting a job fair for prospective teachers, bus drivers, and cafeteria workers. The event is scheduled for 9 a.m. to noon this Saturday, October the 22nd, in the school board room located right here at 621 South State Street. The job fair is a great opportunity for those who wish to work in Jackson Public Schools. Prospective teachers and other employees will interview with principals or assistant principals at the level they wish to teach. The Jackson Public School District is also seeking to hire retired teachers to teach JPS K-12 scholars. Anyone interested in working with JPS should complete the online application on our website and contact the Office of Human Resources at 601-960-8745. JPS and Rotary Club honor Teachers of the Quarter. 3 Jackson Public School teachers received Teacher of the Quarter awards presented by the Downtown Rotary Club of Jackson during the organization's weekly luncheon held October the 17th. Award recipients received a certificate of appreciation and a gift bag. At this time, I'd like to announce the Teacher of the Quarter award recipients. When I call your name, please come forward. Dr. Michelle Shearer of Isabel Elementary. Miss Christy Hollinshead is the principal representing the honoree, Miss Katie Hudson of Bailey APAC Middle School. And finally, Miss LaQuanda Sims of Provine High School. Teacher of the Quarter honorees are JPS teachers who demonstrate excellence in their profession and go the extra mile to serve scholars and the community. Working in conjunction with the district's Offices of Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports and Partners in Education, the Downtown Rotary Club of Jackson holds Teachers of the Quarter celebrations to recognize outstanding implementation of PBIS practices. The Rotary Club recognizes one JPS teacher from each academic division, elementary, middle, and high school, during the celebration. I would also like to thank and recognize Ms. Thea Faulkner, Dr. Margaret Wallace, and Ms. Jessica Quinn, Tools for Life coaches, Ms. Jessica Quinn, Ms. Kimberly McBride, Ms. Edatina Miles, and Ms. Lauren Taylor for their assistance in coordinating this teacher recognition program. Can we celebrate them, please? I'd also like to give a very special thank you to the Rotary Club. If there are any members of the Rotary Club that are present with us tonight, please stand at this time. All right, one more round of applause for our honorees. JPS educators honored for challenging, inspiring, and engaging scholars. Parents for Public Schools of Jackson, with support from the Community Foundation of Greater Jackson, recognized 4 teachers from the Jackson Public School District as outstanding educators for the 2015-2016 school year. PPSJ Outstanding Educator Awards were presented at PPSJ's Lunch Bunch Community Forum meeting, which was held September the 7th, 2016, where principals, the community, and PPSJ's membership participated in a tribute to the honorees. When I call your names, please come forward. Mr. Mathis Sheriff, on behalf of Miss Anna Culpepper at Walton Elementary School. Okay, thank you. Miss Darlene King Shelby of Dawson Elementary School. Dr. Delane Lesh of Span Elementary School. And Miss Shalonda Stewart of Pecan Park Elementary School. Will all the principals of these fine educators please stand and be recognized? Awesome. Each honoree received a certificate and a cash award provided by the Outstanding Educator Award Fund of the Community Foundation of Greater Jackson. Would any representatives from PPSJ and the Community Foundation please stand and be recognized? We do thank you for your continued support. One more time, let's celebrate our honorees. Davis Magnet IB Elementary named top school in the state. Would Davis Magnet Elementary Principal Dr. Kathleen Grigsby please come forward at this time? Ladies and gentlemen, Jackson Public Schools has the top elementary school in the state. According to the website, schooldigger.com, Davis Magnet International Baccalaureate Elementary School is the #1 elementary school in Mississippi based on test scores from the 2015-2016 school year. Davis IB Elementary School has a strong history of achievement and has received MDE's highest accountability rating of A for multiple consecutive years. Davis was also named a PREPS Value Added School in 2013 for high scores in language arts and math. The school was once named a National Blue Ribbon School by the U.S. Department of Education. Besides Davis at #1, 2 more elementary schools made the top 50. Power APAC at #4. and Casey Elementary at number 27. Join me for a round of applause for these outstanding accomplishments.
Ray, I think I'm going to join you for this.
Good. Yes, Ms. Burt's going to come down because we want to hug the ambassadors. So the Davis IB Magnet School ambassadors here. Staff and staff too. Everybody just come on up. Ambassadors, come forward, please. And as they're coming, can your parents please stand? Parents of these young people? Awesome. Thank you. National PTA names McWillie Elementary School of Excellence. Would Dr. Sarah Harper and the leaders of the McWillie PTA please come forward? McWillie Elementary is the only school in the state of Mississippi to be recognized as a National PTA School of Excellence for 2016 through 2017. The award is for the school's leadership and accomplishments nationwide in building strong, effective family-school partnerships. The National Award is a testament of how McWillie Elementary has built upon an already rich tradition of fostering a strong parent-teacher partnership at the school. The National PTA School of Excellence designation is awarded when a PTA and school have achieved a high level of family engagement or when a PTA and school have made substantive, positive improvement in families' perceptions by the end of the school year. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for McWillie Elementary Parents Teacher Association. Thank you, Madam President. That concludes the superintendent's announcements for tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. We're now down to, excuse me, information items only, information action items.
Madam President, Board of Trustees, for your consideration, a memorandum of understanding between the Rickey Smiley Foundation and Cambridge Heights Academy and alignment Jackson with Jackson Public Schools District. Dr. Fred Murray will come with a brief presentation prior to your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Gray, board members.
Sir.
A few years ago, well, last year actually, the Rickey Smiley Foundation engaged JPS in some work with summer reading. And during that, the time when they were here, they engaged the high schools. They learned about our academies, and so they were interested in seeing how they could, further their footprint in the Jackson area. And so over the past year, we've engaged the Rickey Smiley Foundation in conversation, and we've worked together to come up with an MOU that we'd like to share with you tonight. The high school division recommends the approval of a partnership agreement between Cambridge Heights Academy and the Rickey Smiley Foundation with the Jackson Public Schools Academies of Jackson. The Cambridge Heights Academy is an educational arm of the Rickey Smiley Foundation. Both entities seek to support the advancement of the community and the youth nationally through work that involves a focus on education, social conscience, financial responsibility, and career preparation. We recommend, based on the commitments expressed by all parties, that the academies of Callaway and Wingfield be named the Cambridge Heights Academy of Business and Global Marketing at Callaway and the Rickey Smiley Academy of Communication Technology at Wingfield. The rationale and justification for this: as of April 2016, the Jackson Public School District, Alignment Jackson, and the Cambridge Heights and Rickey Smiley Foundation have been in communication about possibilities for partnering with the Academies of Jackson. Our discussions have focused on productive and identifying specific areas in which support can be provided. We established through these discussions the resource inherent to the Rickey Smiley Foundation would best serve educational goals of the Academies of Communication at Wingfield in providing real-world, hands-on, experiential learning environment for these scholars. Likewise, a similar conclusion was found with the Cambridge Heights Academy of Resource and the Academy of Business at Callaway. Through this partnership, Cambridge Heights Academy will support the educational goals of the Academy by establishing a debate team, supporting curriculum implementation, and other entrepreneurial pathways across the school. So this is kind of in a nutshell what these opportunities are about. There's some information about financial obligation. There's a $50,000 3-year commitment, and this obligation is not just cash, because that's not what this is about. It's about a partnership that might be in kind, might be equipment, or it might be cash. So we're requesting your approval for this partnership.
Thank you, Dr. Murray. That is incredible. I recall going out to, where is it, Murrah?
Murrah.
That we received how many books from the Rickey Smiley Foundation? 5,000 or so, Dr.
Five,
Gray?
yes.
And it's a wonderful, wonderful partnership that you've developed, and it so falls in line with the work of the academies and what we're exposing our young people to. So congratulations on doing that, and it's good to see that the financial requirements can be in kind and
Yes, ma'am.
and other kinds of things, and not necessarily just money.
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
I have some questions.
And Mr.
And we want to commend Mr. Smiley for thinking about Jackson Public Schools and the youth here. Have a question for you, though.
Yes, sir.
In your comments, you mentioned experimental learning. Help me with that.
Experiential, and what it is, for example, if the model that we follow is after Nashville, and Rickey Smiley is an entertainment business. Wingfield has a communications entertainment academy. So what better partnership than to engage students with a foundation that can help them nurture those kinds of opportunities. They can talk to them about radio, TV, about getting into the industry, all the ins and outs. So not to actually just the content, but to actually give students experiences in those kinds of, and connecting that with the content. So that's what we mean by that.
So with these ninth graders, what is what will be the rubric to show that they have really grown from this?
Well, it's not just ninth graders, it's actually any student that's in that academy. So
Okay.
the academy spans across multiple grade levels.
Okay.
A student is in the ninth grade academy, and then they would opt to go into, for example, communication. If you have 100 students in the communication academy, they would be in that academy for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So the connection, if you remember, a couple of years ago when we started the academies, the whole focus of academies is rigor, relevance, and relationships. So that's what this is all about. It's in the context of their everyday work, you relate it to the communication industry. So it's about rigor, making the work that they do relevant, developing relationships, so that students will be more motivated to attend school and stay in school.
Okay. Will these students also have some scholarship monies tied to it, to go? Because I noticed that, and we appreciate the financial piece, but you did mention in-kind and so on. So does that include technology? Because the reason and allow me, we definitely want to see Wingfield get there as well as Callaway, and we definitely want to see our children, our students especially, gain some opportunities to go on to college or to some other educational range. So does this have a piece in there tied to that?
Yes, sir. The entire academy concept is based around characteristics of a graduate. Exposing students, making sure the students have access to college trips. So everything around the academy concept is focused on preparing students for college, decreasing the dropout rate, increasing the graduation rate.
Okay, again, the question is, will these students that go through this program of the foundation have scholarship opportunities?
Yes, sir. They will.
Thank you.
I'm listening to my colleague, and one of the better ways I think that we can have our students to really intuitively grasp what is being offered to them is really through experiential training, because that's hands-on, gives them the opportunity to feel it, to participate in it, and to be able to internalize it in a way that's very different than just reading something. So I think that this really gives them an opportunity to learn in a different kind of way. We know that experiential learning really grabs that individual, and it's retained much more than just reading the narrative. So I'm happy to hear you. Thank you for that, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
Mr. Oppenheim?
Thanks, Madam President. And thank you, Dr. Murray, for bringing this in front of us. With my previous hat on, working very closely around setting up the academies, I think it's really hopeful and helpful. If I asked a question about the personnel again, just for a little bit more detail about how that works in terms of time spent, what kind of professional development they're getting, and then what are going to be the requirements, because I know part of the academy model is a lot of team teaching and some of those internal professional development pieces. So I'd be curious what those supports look like that that the Rickey Smiley Foundation and the Cambridge Heights folks will be providing and all
Yes,
that.
sir. Well, again, the work will be collaborative. The staff will be current staff that we have. If you note some of the relationships that we already have, like with UMMC, we do internships, externships in the summer where they train teachers, and that's a part of their contribution. And so it'll be a similar type rollout. They'll help us develop curriculum up front around communication, around the music industry. And as they help us with that, they will provide training our teachers through internships, externships, and providing opportunities for our students to be exposed to internships and things of that nature. So initially, it will be helping develop curriculum and providing training in the curriculum that we will develop together.
That's the Rickey Smiley Foundation is providing that?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
All right, appreciate that.
And those are the kinds of things that's the in kind when we mean that.
Okay.
They will support us in those kinds of ways as well.
Okay, appreciate that. And then just my other question was back on my initial thought, and I'm not sure if this might even be an attorney question. Cumulative financial commitment, even though there was kind of details about that, still seemed a little bit vague and non-committal for all parties involved. And so I think it'd be really helpful to specify that a little bit more, and I'm just looking at you, Ms. Turner. I don't know if it's actually you, but it just seems, even though we could say it's the value assigned to personnel hours and material contributions, monetary donations over the course of 3 years, who's providing what, who's doing what. I don't think I've ever come across the term cumulative financial commitment as opposed to these folks are providing this, these folks are providing this, like in an MOU statement. And so I think it'd be really helpful, because that'll show us who's responsible for what when these kind of agreements are made.
Yes, sir. And Madam President, Board of Trustees, Mr. Oppenheim, I think that those will be developed as part of the strategic plan that connects to this.
Yes, sir.
Am I correct?
Yes, sir. And we have, as you're probably aware of, the instrument they use in Nashville to actually quantify the hours that a person comes in and volunteers. So we'll be putting in those kinds of tools, as well as, there'll be clear financial contributions, equipment, everything will be assessed, the price. So it'll be, we've actually talked through the process of how we can actually determine every cent to ensure that they've met that $50,000 requirement over the 3-year period.
So is that the language we should have in the actual agreement, is that this will be specified in the strategic arrangement as opposed to, and I'm not sure who to ask, if that's the superintendent, the attorneys, or Dr. Murray, or even Ms. Miller, about how that should look, if it shouldn't actually say cumulative financial commitment, but it should say the financial commitments as laid out in the strategic plan or some such.
We'd have to get some clarification on that one. Ms. Shepherd's unavailable tonight. But my understanding is that is the strategic plan is the next step after an MOU. So some more specifics would be added to that moving forward.
Ms. Campbell.
Most of what I was going to ask was just what he just asked about breaking down the financials. But let me just ask it from this standpoint. Are we as the district responsible for any money?
No.
So
No.
it's just, they just have to make the 50,000.
Yes,
So
yes.
we don't have to bring any money to the table.
No.
We don't have to bring any equipment to the table.
No.
And we don't have to even find volunteers. They're just coming up with the curriculum and the training. So it's our people, that's our lift. Our lift is just providing the
That's
people
just
and the
providing.
schools.
That's correct.
And this is a,
No.
and this is a model that we'll follow with every partnership. In the next few months, we'll be bringing other partnerships, and we follow this same model. So it won't be this, or if you want to be a named academy sponsor, then this is the commitment that you'll have to make.
Okay.
So that has been thought through the planning.
Okay. So through the planning from here on out, all partners that want to partner with JP, they all will have this 50,000?
If they want to be a
If
named
they want to be a named
partner.
partner.
If they want to be a named academy partner, yes.
Okay.
And so this just serves as a template
Yes, ma'am.
for future endeavors of this nature. And I can see the need to quantify it after the first one. And because we are not monetarily providing, input into this, it's a gift actually for us. And I do, since it's going to be used hopefully for a template, that we will quantify it as needed so that we can use some of the in-kind contribution, we can use them to leverage other grants or other kinds of things that we might have as well. Yes, ma'am.
Board members, I would suggest then, because I actually read this a little bit differently, I just thought the cumulative talked about through in-kind or through all the three partners, there would be a $50,000 contribution. But to address Ms. Campbell's point, I would suggest that what we could do is insert some language in the contract that specifies that JPS's contribution is solely in-kind, and that to the extent that there is any monetary contribution or equipment or other services, that would be the responsibility of the named partner. We can add that to the MOU to
Okay.
address both of your concerns.
Is that satisfactory, colleagues?
Yeah, I think that kind
Yep,
of gets at what
that's
I
it.
was asking.
Okay.
And
Yes,
if I may
Ms.
just make
Dodd.
one comment, as this is hammered out, or the model is put in place,
Okay, gotcha, okay.
will it leverage, using the word, what our needs and concerns are for our students? Because we do know that this is a beautiful organization, and we're not hammering against that. But we want to look at the end of this, and be able to look back and say, okay, we've grown this piece here. We've had 30 students to get scholarships. Our radio station over there is now in 5,000 countries or what have you. Okay, so we want to make sure that model leverages us, to a spectrum that we're not currently have right now. Thank you so much, though. Appreciate your
Ms.
effort.
Davenant?
Yeah, no, I was just going to remind my colleagues and also thank Dr. Murray and Dr. Gray for bringing this forward, because this was one of our, I think, budgetary goals, was to start getting named buy-in from entities for our academy. So kudos to you, Dr. Murray, and your team.
Right. And
Thank
he
you.
may be one, so contact me, we'll talk.
Yes.
ARP may be the name partner.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have a motion in a second?
No, ma'am.
No? So I entertain a motion. With-
So-
Yeah,
You're
so
gonna
moved
include
with
the
language
modifications.
that Ms. Turner has added.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we adopt agenda item 8, information action items, the approval of a memo between JPS and the Rickey Smiley Foundation with the modifications as indicated by our attorney. Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're now down to approval of the Mississippi Department of Education Corrective Action Plan.
Madam President, Board of Trustees, for your consideration, the corrective action plan. We emailed it to you after the agenda was posted, because we had, even today, some technical assistance from MDE. And so it is, we're ready to move it. So with
Dr.
your
Gray,
consent-
I would just ask before why don't you give us an overview as to where we are, or someone that you want to, Jason, Mr. Sargent, give us an overview of where we are. What does the plan look like? Do we like it? How complete it is, what our expectations are, just the whole kind of bailiwick around that.
Yeah, well, we love it because we're about done with it. So we've completed the plan. Everything is in place. As Dr. Gray mentioned, we received some technical assistance today, and we're receiving our last technical assistance request on tomorrow morning as it relates to the 2016 accountability model. We'll submit the plan on Thursday, which is October the 20th. Our legal team has had an opportunity to review it, give us feedback on that. We also make some corrections based on the feedback we received from them. So we're in a position now to submit it and to move forward with starting to clear our standards. We have several standards that we will submit for clearance as soon as after we submit our plan and they accept it and give us the green light to do that. And so everything's ready to go as far as submitting the plan, and we'll get it in on time for October the 20th.
So is the idea that it's submitted, and then once it's submitted, we start thinking about saying, we are now ready to clear this standard, and they're done one by one or based
Yes, ma'am.
upon
They're done a standard at a time.
a standard at the time, and they will clear it or not clear it.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we move to the next, to the next, to the next. Is that the way that the process works?
Yes, ma'am. We've identified process standard leaders, and they're here tonight. If Dr. Gray's okay, well,
If it's all right, Ms. Byrd and Board of Trustees, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask them to stand so they can be
Okay.
recognized. The standard leaders, would you stand, please? All right.
No, there's lots of hard work.
and so and they're in charge of their standard, and so once they've completed all of the tasks that are in column 2 of that document, then we will submit to the accreditation office for clearance, and either the accreditation office or either the program office that's over that standard will review the information that we submit. Some of the standards will require a follow-up visit. Some of them can just be cleared with artifacts. So depending on what it is that we have to submit, then they will either do a follow-up visit or they'll review the artifacts that we submit, and then they will clear the standard. And so we'll continue to do that until all standards are cleared.
Do we know how long it will take for them to start the process of reviewing, getting back to us, and then our asking for standards to be cleared?
It just depends on when they accept it. I think they have to receive it. I'm not sure if the state board has to approve it or if
Okay.
just the accreditation committee has to approve it. But when last I talked to Mr. Stamps, he said they would not start clearing the standards until after it was submitted, and I believe he said approved. But I'll speak with them tomorrow, and the next time we meet, I can give you some actual timeline and dates as to what has to happen to the plan before we can actually start submitting for clearance.
Thank you. Board members?
Yes,
Mr. Jones, then Mr. Oppenheim.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. I noticed in the plan that there were several dates referenced. Have we met all those deadlines or dates that we put in here?
Yes, sir. The dates that we have are listed in that last column. We listed dates for those actual actions to be completed, but we also listed a final date for the entire plan to be done, which is April 21st, 2017. But many of the standards will be cleared prior to that. But that was the date that we put for the entire plan itself. A few will go beyond that for facilities and possibly safety, but the majority of those will be cleared on or before April 21st.
Okay. With the facilities piece, how is that? Where are we in terms of? Because I know that there were several mentioned in there. Where?
I don't recall the percentage of completion, and Mr. Davis is not here with us tonight, but he's making a lot of progress with that standard. And we will report a quantified progress percentage to you all once we start moving forward with the clearance. But he has been able to fix a lot of those items. And those should be reflected in this plan. As I looked at it, he indicated, as well as Chief Jones did with our safety plan, as well as transportation, what has been completed to date. So that should be reflected in your copy of the plan.
Mr. Oppenheim?
Yeah, thanks, Madam President. Thanks, Dr. Sargent. I know this is a heavy lift for everybody involved. I just wanted to make sure I had asked some questions prior to it coming in front of us a couple weeks ago, just around some clarity around language use and inconsistencies, and I know I submitted those, so I'm just wondering if those were included in any revisions.
Yes, sir. If I recall correctly, the one you mentioned was the person responsible.
Yeah,
we went back and adjusted that. We took out the names and we only listed one position. I do remember that one specifically. I can't remember the others you listed, but I know we fixed that one.
Yeah, there's a couple around just clarity, and especially around this idea around the instructional management plan.
Right.
I'd be curious a little bit more detail about how that's described and what that means in terms of our day-to-day operations.
Yeah, we had the technical assistance with the State Department for Standard 20, and we updated our plan based on their feedback. So the information, those action items that have to be completed, if you look at Standard 20, we've outlined those actions that have to be done in order to bring our instructional management system up to date.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question, we submitted by Thursday of this week. How soon is it for public consumption?
I'll have to ask Mr. Stamps and get back to you.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be helpful, because I'm sure folks in the public who want to be able to
Sure.
help out and see it would be
Sure.
much more.
Yes, one thing. Ms. Campbell?
I know that the last board meeting we had, there were several sections that had almost zero completion. And I remember you said that was because we were needing technical support from MDE.
Yes, ma'am.
So at this point, because I had some email issues and I'm still trying to figure it out and look at it right now on my phone, those areas that had zero completion, I take it through technical assistance, now all of that has been addressed.
Yes, ma'am.
And what we're about to offer them, that's all been addressed with them, right?
Right. We've
Okay.
had all of our technical assistance. Tomorrow will be the last session that we will receive.
Okay.
I think one of the probably important thing that that's happened that has actually informed the community has been the series of town hall meetings that we've had. I've had a number of people who talked about the importance of those, and that they gave the community an idea of how the correction action plan was being developed. I know that the very first meeting, we were just kind of starting off and saying that we're about to get there. And as each town hall meeting progressed, there was more and more and more corrective actions, measures that had been taken. And so it's been a good way to be transparent with the entire community about where we are and how we're addressing this plan. And so now what I'm hearing is that with the technical assistance from the State Department of Education, that we are satisfied with this plan, that the parts that won't be completed by Thursday, the Department of Education knows that, and we're on schedule to make sure that those get completed as we have agreed, as they have agreed.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
I don't want, is that
I'm sorry.
accurate?
Yes, that's accurate, but at this point, all we had to do is complete the plan.
Okay.
We were not required to have all of these violations.
Right, that's what I'm saying, that
Yes,
they
ma'am.
understand, they've agreed to that.
Yeah,
that
well,
we just
that's
have to
their
agree.
process.
Oh,
Yes,
wonderful,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
wonderful. Then that sounds like a 100% completion
Yes,
for us. And we still have one more town hall meeting
Correct.
that we will have in Ward 1, so that we will have a different kind of a process to go through during that particular meeting. And I think that in the future, for those in the listening community, our plan is to really have a number of conversations with the community. We had such great feedback from people talking about we're happy to see the school district in the community. And so I think that this serves as an opportunity for us to continue this kind of process. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve information action item, approval of the Mississippi Department of Education Corrective Action Plan. Those in favor? Thank you. Consent agenda items, finance.
Madam President, Board of Trustees, these are consent agenda items for your consideration. Items A and B.
Okay.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Oppenheim.
can I ask that we vote separately on item 372898, the budget item for the Adams and Reese payment?
On what? I'm sorry. What
For
was it?
item 372898 on accounts payable?
372898.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'll entertain a motion for approval of A and B under consent agenda finance with exception of 372898 under accounts payable.
So move adoption for A and B minus 372898.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Those in favor? Thank you.
Question.
Yes, Mr. Jones, did you have a question?
I did.
Okay.
I see that there was some hardware purchases and so on. Where are we on the, I guess,
laptops or whatever for the students. Is that part of, is that wrapped up in some of the items that were presented in the budget?
Yes, sir, it is, and that's dependent upon when the school actually ordered them.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Well, now, Mr. Oppenheim, we'll return to your accounts payable item.
Good afternoon. I stand in to answer your question, Mr. Oppenheim, about the $2,365, I believe, in regards to Adams and Reese. When we researched that, we found out that is the expenses associated with the accreditation audit. And there were a few other miscellaneous expenses that related to that invoice, but that's what that was.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Oh yeah, no, I didn't have any questions. I just didn't want to vote for supporting that budget item, so.
All righty then.
I'll-
I'll now entertain a motion for approval of this item.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and second that we approve B 372898 under accounts payable. Questions? Those in favor? Thank you.
I vote opposed.
You're opposed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's
I'm
why I
sorry, I
pulled-
didn't
That's why
see
I
that.
pulled it.
Oh, all right, gotcha. All right. 6-0. 5-0, I'm sorry.
5-1.
5-1.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
5-1.
Thank you.
Okay. We're now down to consent agenda items, general.
Madam President, Board of Trustees, it is the consent agenda items A and B for your consideration.
Motion for action.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and second that we adopt consent agenda items, general, A and B. Mr. Oppenheim?
Thank you, Madam President. I just have a question about the test security plan, Dr. Gray. You know, I asked the question beforehand about how we ensure that on testing days, non-testing students are having the regular curriculum, and I understand the responsible normal instruction always continues, but I constantly, from teachers, from parents, from students, hear that that's not the case. And so I wonder, how can we track that? And how do we make sure that that students are engaged in relevant and rigorous curriculum when they're not the ones testing in the building? Because I know we have to make a lot of adjustments for some of these tests.
Yes, sir.
And I just think it's one of those things that I'm always hearing, that everything shuts down essentially. And so I think it'd be nice, and I know I've brought this up every time we vote on the calendar. I think if there's a way to track that, I think would be really helpful. Because to lose those instruction days because other students are testing just kind of seems, and I don't know if you have any thoughts on how we could do that, but it's one of those constant things, as I'm always talking about how over-tested our kids are.
Yes, sir.
And then on top of that, even if you're not testing, your whole day might be adjusted.
Well, Mr. Oppenheim, Madam President, Board of Trustees, one way of doing it is requiring the schools to submit a plan of action for those who won't be tested, and then to inspect what they have submitted. And so we could definitely include that in our plans for the next set of tests, which would be the next 9-week test.
So would that be like a quick form? Is that something that they're just passing up the chain to whoever their supervisor might be? What would that look like?
Yes, sir. That's what it would be. You've described it exactly. Yes, sir.
Because I just think that would be super helpful, because it's one of the things, the bugs that's always in my ear about not only the over-testing of our kids, which I know isn't always on us, but the fact that even when you're in the building not testing, you're treated as if you are tested.
Yes, sir. I know that some of that is also, Mr. Oppenheim, the integrity of the actual spring test itself. We try to mimic that as much as possible, and when that is occurring, there is no other activity allowed because it is an issue with test security at that point.
And I think my thinking on that is it also creates other kinds of issues for the kids who are, whether it's disciplinary issues or whatnot, if we're trying too hard to put everybody kind of in that space. So
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that, and I'll follow up with you on that.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Those in favor? Thank you. Now down to consent agenda items, personnel.
And Madam President, Board of Trustees, for your consideration, I'll ask that we pull 2 items for consideration in executive session. Item A4 and item A22. The others are for your consideration, please.
Okay. Motion for action.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and second that we adopt consent agenda items, personnel. Questions?
I have one question.
Yes, Mr. Jones.
As it relates to the teachers, I see several coming in. How are we again on filling those core subject areas that's tested, which we just talked about?
Yes, sir.
Where are we at on the number that we have vacant compared to the number that we just hired compared to what we have left over?
Okay. If you don't mind, Mr. Jones, we'll ask Ms. Lyons to address.
Sure.
President Byrd, members of the board, could you repeat that
Sure.
question, please?
Yes. The number of new hires that are coming on board that are going into our core areas, and then from those areas that are going to be filled, what are the areas that we still have remaining in terms that are not filled with a core teacher, the areas that we're tested?
For math, we have about 22 vacancies that we're still filling, we're trying to fill. Of course, out of the 22, we do have expert citizen applicants who are still trying to obtain the licenses. So that's one of the core. For science, it's only, I think science is 5 and social studies is 5. So
Okay.
those are some of the core vacancies that we have.
Okay. So it's really our math and our science area?
Yes, math is the highest right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Highest
All right.
vacancies that we are trying to fill.
Okay. All right. And what is our plan, for those students that are find themselves in a situation like that?
Now, Ms. Lyons already alluded to, Mr. Jones, Madam President, that many of the scholars, there's a limited service person in those classrooms. They're working on attaining their licensure. So there is a person in there who can teach. They just haven't yet attained their license.
Correct.
All right.
So, Dr. Gray, you're saying that there is a qualified teacher in each classroom who is able to teach? Okay, go ahead.
There is a limited service person there at teaching those scholars right now,
That is correct.
and they are working on attaining their license.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. All righty. Thank you. Any other questions, colleagues? I think we had a first and second, motion and second. Those in favor? Thank you. We're now down to other business. Consideration to hold an executive session.
Just real quick, Madam President, you mentioned at the last meeting that we would come back to the committee assignments and then the discussion about the renaming the Hardy Music Room.
Once again, I've failed you. I'm so sorry, Mr. Oppenheim. You have to call me the day before,
All right.
seriously.
I will do that
Would
before the
you do
next
it
board
next
meeting.
time?
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'm feeling really bad.
No, it's all right.
Okay. I promise to do it for the next meeting, if you'll forgive me for this one.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Okay. So we are now down to consideration to hold an executive session.
We do have three items, all personnel related.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to consider holding executive session in connection with 3 personnel. Oh, that's right. Sorry. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
No,
Huh?
so moved.
Didn't we have one?
So moved.
Okay. So moved.
Second. Second.
Second. It's been moved and second that we adjourn this meeting. Those in favor? Thank you. Mhm.
So moved.
Yes, that we close the meeting for executive session. Those in favor? Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.